You're listening to Founders on Air with Steve Orenstein and Mike Rosenbaum.
This podcast is sponsored by Zoom to You, Australia's on-demand courier marketplace. Get your parcels delivered within hours rather than days.
You can't see it here, guys, but we have Adam Broadway from PlatformOS, and he's doing a bit of a shuffle dance right in front of our screen. So welcome to the show, Adam, from beautiful, sunny Silicon Valley.
Well, thank you for having me, Mike and Steve. And yes, I was doing a little bit of a dance because that intro music gets me in the mood.
It's a little bit cheesy. We might have to change that. So getting right along with it, Adam. So, Adam, what do you do when you're not busy running your fast-growing software business?
Well, as you know, Michael, I have 6 kids. I know you might be thinking, hang on, I thought you only had 5. But with the addition of Galileo, who is 19, joining with combined families, 6 boys. So it's pretty busy. In fact, I have a startup and I run multiple businesses so that I can have a break. No, I only hang out at the office because, you know, having 6 boys motivates me to do well in business, but also when I'm out and about with them, it's usually rock climbing or paragliding or doing some sort of adrenaline sport. And
you've just come back from Yosemite, I can see.
You do notice the shiner that I have. Yeah, that was a Yosemite accident.
Beautiful part of the world. So I guess you just sort of led into my next question, which is about work-life balance. I mean, is there such a thing with a startup? And you sort of mentioned that work is kind of your balance, having six boys. Yeah, tell us a bit more about your views on work-life balance.
Well, work-life balance. I think it's great if you have a risk profile that's more than 9 to 5, taking weekends off, and if that's how you want to live life, then that's great. But I think for entrepreneurs and people building businesses, there's no such thing. It's work-life harmony. So work-life harmony is the new buzzword. And what it comes down to is, okay, I am a workaholic, or I'm so laser focused on this business, I think about it all the time. How can I get some work-life harmony? And it's a really tough one because as an entrepreneur, and you both probably know, being yourself, you don't switch off. There's no 9 to 5. It's 24/7. You dream about it. You worry about it. It's a baby, and you're wanting to nurture that and to bring it up, and hopefully it graduates and joins another family, maybe if it gets acquired. But the problem is that it does impact on family. And so being able to take some time off and at least give some respect to try and recalibrate the way that we work, like turning off your phone at dinner time, or if you're with friends and family, putting your phone to one side, at least for an hour or so, that's where the work-life harmony can exist for me. Maybe it's different for other people, but yeah, I don't see it as there's no balance. It's all on all the time.
It's complete immersion. I love that buzzword. So what was it? Work-life harmony.
Work-life harmony, because there is no balance. It's like you put everything into the thing that you're addicted to often. And I think as entrepreneurs, it becomes an addiction and a problem. So you've got to work out how you can get some harmony in your life where you give time to those that matter. Because after the business is said and done, I mean, what do you look back on? Everybody at their deathbed said, I wish I worked harder. Not. I said, I wish I spent more time with my friends and family. So I'm consciously trying to switch off my phone when I'm with family, when I'm at the dinner table. At least that gives them a sense of presence. And even if in my mind I'm always on and thinking about things, I've really tried to focus in the moment to spend the time with my loved ones. It's a tough thing.
And Adam, you're living in Silicon Valley. You're originally from Oz. What's it like living in the Valley, building a business? How long have you been there now?
10 years, yeah. So just over 10 years. Came over in 2009. Bardia Houseman and I started Business Catalyst back in 2004. Prior to that, we'd both built businesses, both of which had been acquired, mine in hardware, Bardia's in software. And then when we met, we kicked off Business Catalyst. And Bardia came over and set up the office earlier. That was in 2008. But by the time 2009, end of 2009, we had been acquired by Adobe. And since then, it's gone downhill, I have to say. I don't know if it was a correlation or causation between me moving here or when Bardia moved back to Sydney, but definitely in the last 5 years, it is gone downhill. And you can read all about that online. Just do a search. It's an interesting place. I definitely say it was an amazing place. It's still a melting pot of tenacious and driven people from all over the world, all walks of life coming together. And you said silly con. Silly. It can be a bit of a silly con sometimes and get you sucked down a pretty slippery slope of distractions. I think that what is awesome about this place is the knowledge pool. Yeah, it's just, you could talk to anything about any topic, from AI, machine learning, deep learning, right through to biology and physiology and pharma and all of those things, and obviously tech. And yeah, it's a great place, but 10 years, we're moving out. We're going to Colorado.
Yeah, right. And do you think it's as important now for like an Aussie startup to think about moving to the Valley, or is it not as important as it was sort of 10 years ago?
I think it's important to come and meet people, but moving permanently, no way. I don't recommend it for this. Oh, all right, let me rephrase. Why would you come to Silicon Valley right now? Number one reason, your customers are here. If your customers are here, absolutely be here and get more of them. And if they are based specifically in San Francisco, Bay Area, Silicon Valley, then be here. If you're raising money, it's also a good place to be, particularly for an Aussie startup where Aussies focus more on getting real cash flow in their business. And so you come over here and you go, hey, I've got a business model. It's already bootstrapped. We're getting revenue. That's another big tick in the box. But to move here, yeah, I'd say that based on the stats right now, there's more people wanting to move out than there are moving in. Your runway, if you've raised money, will be sucked up in no time at all.
Yeah, just because the cost of employing people is so much more expensive there.
It's off the charts. Everybody, the rich, the poor, the young, the old, everybody's complaining about it. And the article actually came out yesterday on the 23rd. Rich, poor, young, and old, they're all unhappy here. Bay Area dissatisfaction is just continuing to get higher. That said, if your customers are here, if you're wanting to raise money, if you want to rub shoulders or throw a stone in any direction from almost anywhere on the peninsula, you will hit a VC. You'll hit a private equity person. You'll hit a developer, a product manager, a biotech. You'll hit any one of those people, and you can sit down. Because they celebrate success, they're willing to give so much knowledge away. There's no sense of, oh, sign this NDA or suspicion. It's like, hey, the more the better. I'll share you. I'll tell you what I've learned. I'll connect you with these people. So that's pretty unique. Yeah, and right. Amazing for Aussies.
And for someone who's got like a very early stage startup and they're wanting to meet sort of VCs and that sort of stuff, like what's the best sort of tip in sort of getting started at doing that?
Yeah, get customers. Focus on getting your customers before you talk to VCs, particularly. And so
if you got to that stage and you've got customers and you're just wanting to meet people in that area?
Okay, then great. There's Sandhill Road is full of VCs. And if you're just coming over, there's a couple of very specific hotel, restaurants, bars on Silicon Road that between Wednesdays and Saturday nights, you could just sit in there and randomly buy someone a drink, and you'll be talking to somebody who you would probably never get through to because their executive assistants block every inquiry through email or through LinkedIn. So being here, rubbing shoulders, going to the events, looking at what's going on Meetup before you come, and teaming up a few Meetup events, and then going to physical places. That's a great way of approaching, unless you've got someone in the know. It's not what you know, it's who you know, and they can do a warm intro.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Chris Sard, by the way, who's back in Australia, has a really good blog post. And Chris, g'day, mate, if you're listening. Chris has shared some really good tips on how to connect with VCs around the topic of warm intros.
Great. We'll add a link to our website.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
Excellent.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about PlatformOS and how you got started.
PlatformOS is a gradual evolution for me personally. It's platform operating system. We had we started with a thesis, if you like, after Business Catalyst, that DevOps in a box would be fantastic. Being able to build scalable solutions, marketplaces, commoditize a lot of APIs and integration, but make sure that it was also going to be infrastructure agnostic, because we didn't want to tie our technology specifically into AWS or into Google Cloud or Azure. And so back in the day, after Business Catalyst, one of the things I noticed with all the incumbent solutions out there, in the e-commerce space at least, like BigCommerce, Demandware, Volution, One Shopping Cart, Magento, Business Catalyst itself, and then also content management systems, everything from Drupal back down to .NET Nuke, they were architectured to be one-to-many solutions. I've got a store, I've got lots of customers. But the marketplace economy, the shift towards many-to-many, polymorphic models, commoditizing that user experience or developer experience is where I figured that was going to be the next big thing. And actually it's panning out. Gartner's Magic Quadrant in this area of marketplaces, physical, digital products, people, products, places, projects. It's the burgeoning new way of doing things. So having built PlatformOS to power and future-proof marketplaces is where we started 6 years ago, and met Mike back in those days. And then, so we went from one-to-many architecture to a many-to-many platform, not dissimilar to how Firebase on Google works, only it's platform agnostic, and it has a lot more functionality, features, and a growing ecosystem of developers.
Yeah, awesome. Can you give us an idea of the scale of the size of the company?
Well, we're just little. In terms of people, we're 27.
Okay.
Just awesome. A small staff, same as Business Catalyst. We had 27 staff thereabouts when we got acquired by Adobe. They thought we had hundreds. The key to our success is through our channel partners, and that's a massive development partner network, internet consultants, digital marketing experts, developers, and they're building SaaS products on top of our business. So our growth through those channel partners is where we're seeing huge success.
And Adam, who are some of the clients that you work with?
Well, one of our best clients was a company called Spacer.com.
That's how we met.
Back in the day.
Thanks for helping us get started.
We've helped a lot of startups. Kick off. The Vault, another great Aussie startup, kicking butt, doing exceptionally well. But some of the big names like Intel, Hallmark, DB Schenker, the solution that Spark.co.nz went to market with last year called WeDo, which is like TaskRabbit or Airtasker or Thumbtack. That's built on our platform as well. So it's some very large names, and we scale from startup all the way up to enterprise.
Yeah, awesome. And so you built and exited Business Catalyst. Tell us like sort of why you sold and what that process was sort of like.
Whoa, gee whiz. We're going back a few years now. Well, the process of building that business, Vadia and I, we back in those days found it very difficult to raise any money. We were you'd have to sell your firstborn in Australia to raise money back in those days, and obviously we've had a few of those VCs. Hi, you know who you are. Reach out afterwards, going, "Oh, damn it, we should have done that." Yeah, you should have. Well, we bootstrapped all the way. We didn't raise a cent. What we did was worked our tails off and built an amazing product with an amazing team. It was ahead of the curve in terms of an all-in-one online SaaS product, content management, email marketing, e-commerce, blogs, forums, customer service tools, all in one, but sold through channel partners who white labeled it. So the hosting back in those days didn't exist for AWS, didn't exist at all. So we built our own hardware infrastructure inside Equinix data centers. So that was my job. I come from a hardware background, built all of the data center, co-location, all of the replication, everything up from the bare metal to where the .NET stack began. Yeah, right. And that's where Vadia took over.
Excellent. So AWS and like things like Microsoft Azure just makes things so much easier these days.
It's awesome. It can make it much easier, but also much lazier. And people know they can just write less efficient code because it's easier to hide with another serverless CPU cycle that gets paid for. And whereas for us, it was dedicated hardware, and every CPU cycle counted. and it was much more efficient. But yeah, it's incredible now. I love AWS. I love Azure. I love Google Cloud.
Yeah, awesome. And so that process of being acquired, sort of, how long did that take from that sort of first, and how did that sort of eventuate and happen?
It was exciting times. Our strategy was, as I said, through channel partners, digital marketing agencies, web designers, etc. And we were building up a pretty loyal following in Australia and New Zealand, and the US market was starting to really grow big globally, in fact. People from all different languages in different countries. And what we would do is we would look for people that were signed up. And at one point, we saw an adobe.com sign up and go through the partner sign-up program. It was like, oh, who's this? So we do the investigation, because what we had done was strategically go to events that Adobe were at, like Max. We sponsored that 1 year. And then we would go to an event apart and other web-specific places. And we'd kind of get chummy with the Adobe staff, because they were a good partnership opportunity for us. We didn't think necessarily that we would get acquired, but what we had developed was a thing called Triangle. And Triangle was, you've got Photoshop, you've got Dreamweaver, you've got Business Catalyst. That's all you need. So we had a plugin for Dreamweaver. Right within Dreamweaver, you could design and deploy straight to our hosting environment. And that was quite unique. And it got us on the radar of Adobe. Then they liked our business model. They were moving to subscription eventually. They hadn't gone Creative Cloud just at that time. And from the phone call to acquisition, it was about 9 months. So it was a long due diligence. They'd never bought a SaaS business before. And they then wanted to make sure, well, are we all that? And so it was 9 months.
Yeah, right.
This podcast is sponsored by Parkhound, Australia's parking marketplace, to find a convenient parking space near your home or office.
And was it at the beginning of that 9 months, did you realise you were selling, or did you just...
No, we had some lowball offers during that process, but having a business partner like Bardia Houseman, who's been through this before, obviously with Start, his previous company had been acquired by LookSmart before the dot-com crash, and he was no slouch when it came to being business savvy. We also got some good advice from some people, and we were able to introduce competitive tension in the deal. We did actually legitimately have two other people, one large multinational who was talking about a investment as a seed money, kind of like what Intel does with some tech companies now. So that came on the radar along with some other VCs. And in the introduction of that conversation to Adobe, they went, don't sign anything. And suddenly we had a term sheet very quickly from them, heads of agreement document, and they did not want to dilute this or complicate the sale by suddenly having people that were on the cap table.
Yeah, right. Awesome. And when you...
So competitive tension is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you were thinking about the price, did you guys have like a price in your mind before, or were you just sort of waiting to see what they were going to offer you?
We were waiting to see what we would be offered, and the multiple at the end was exceptionally good. I would say that in hindsight, and both Bardia and I over beer will say, yeah, look, we probably could have taken the business to higher heights, because often is the case, and we've learnt this now, is you look back after the acquisition, and a large company to a degree assimilating our business into theirs loses momentum. You don't quite have that same level of decision making and autonomy. So we do sometimes say, well, if we had just waited another 12 months and the annual recurring revenue was just going up and up every month, and we had a big war chest in the bank, and it was pretty cool. But who knows? Who knows what could have happened? I think we did very well.
Yeah, awesome.
And so, Adam, why did you decide to do it all over again?
Because I'm a glutton for punishment. No, it's that addiction thing. I feel like I'm nearly 50. I'm 48. I've got plenty of years and gas in the tank. I sold a company previously, a hardware business, and I kind of thought that didn't count. And they say a successful entrepreneur can exit 3 times. So this will be number 3. And by exit, it's, who knows, IPO, acquisition with the right partner. But I really wanted to build something that was more developer focused. And that's what PlatformOS has become. Is very much, we started as a marketplace-focused platform, because if you can build a marketplace on the platform, you can build anything. They're one of the hardest, as you know, the business model for a marketplace is a tough business in and of itself, but technically it's more complex too. Split payments, returns, fraud, logistics of pick, pack, send, return, and then if it's a hired item, getting that back again. There's just so many complications. So having built that as a commoditized platform, we're excited by the next little opportunity that's coming along our way in the next couple of years. So I just love doing what I do. This will be probably the last. One little piece of advice, though, for those who are in the middle of an exit or have just exit, and actually a couple of companies recently, Omni last year, DoneSafe also. I was an investor in DoneSafe, one of the only investors in DoneSafe, which congratulations to them. They just got acquired by a big US multinational. Take some time off. Take 12 months off. And when all of those people come knocking at your door saying, hey, have I got an idea for you? I just need a bit of funding. Lock it all away in an index fund or in some way that you can't really touch it for 12 months and sit back and think about what you're going to do next. I would say just wait. There's always going to be opportunities, and take a breath and look back at what you've achieved and spend some time with the family and friends that have put up with all of your crap for the last 7 or 8, 9, 10 years, where you've said, next year's the year, or this is the year, it's always this is the year, right? Give them some time.
That's very good advice. I think after I had my last business acquired, and I was back up and running within 6 months, and I was like, yeah, maybe I should have taken that extra 6 months. Would have been worthwhile.
You and me both.
So Adam, thanks for helping Spacer get started with the early iterations of PlatformOS near me. I'm not sure if it's still called that. But I mean, we certainly used your platform because it gave us speed to market. Essentially, it allowed us to create an MVP very quickly and cost effectively. But from your perspective, how should founders think about building or buying their software to run their businesses, and why use a platform like PlatformOS?
That's a great question. It's one that we get asked a lot, actually, build versus buy. More and more, everything's getting commoditized. You're on a platform somewhere. You're either on an infrastructure platform, infrastructure as a service, so you're locking yourself into AWS potentially if you're using all their API endpoints. If you're using the AWS container services or their orchestration tools for deployment, and it's tuned in that way, you're locked in. If you're using Google Cloud or something else, now the next layer up is, well, okay, I own all the code. Well, kind of, yeah, you've got some developers and they choose their flavor of frameworks, but unless you're keeping up to date on the latest frameworks and keeping code fresh, removing technical debt, and if those developers go on a backpacking holiday around Scotland and somebody comes in to replace them and they look at the code and go, oh, no, I wouldn't have done it this way. Oh, really? Oh, I better change then. Oh, this person's smarter and knows better, and the team now needs to do it differently. So you're constantly changing. Platforms and commoditized solutions do give you speed to market, but they can also deal with a lot of the headaches if they have, first, platform agnostic. Infrastructure as a service, they can deploy anywhere, so you get that level of sophistication. It's great. And also, if they're using open source frameworks like GraphQL, is just taking the world by storm. The only good thing to come out of Facebook. Liquid markup has just gone streets ahead. That's a Shopify open source conditional formatting front end language that is used with HTML. That's the next version of that is amazing. So there's so many good things that you can plug into that front end developers are really savvy on. So you can get away with having all your business logic in those front-end frameworks, whether it's Node or React or Angular, using GraphQL.
And does it mean that a non-technical co-founder can get started pretty quickly? Does that mean they don't need I'm asking a bit of a silly question because I am a technical co-founder, but does it mean that they can get away with not having a technical co-founder?
That's a great question. I think now that DevOps is becoming so easy to manage, Usually it would have been that this technical co-founder was doing the coding, making sure the servers were up, putting in all the monitoring, doing all of the making sure that the production environment was never falling over. And with less and less of that requirement, I think you're better off to spend. You could have a technical co-founder who is only part-time. You're outsourcing the CTO role to a degree, and you've got a good core team of developers who are not necessarily CTOs. They're just really savvy front-end devs who can write API endpoints. So I think I would rather, if I had to choose between a CTO as a tech company, a CTO and a great marketer or a great customer experience manager, I would go with customer experience and marketing, because technology is just getting easier and easier and easier, more and more commoditized.
Yeah, interesting. And so when you started sort of building out your product, how did you sort of figure out sort of what are the functionality and features that you were going to sort of build into it?
Customers like Mike, customers like ourselves, we built desks near me on our platform to make sure that we understood how a two-sided marketplace worked, irrespective of the technology. How do you answer the phone? How's fraud handled? All of those sorts of things. So being a customer of the product really helped. And then working really closely with the customers themselves, those who are using the platform. So we would get use cases constantly from lots of different people, and we were able to distill that down to core functionality that would suit everybody. And so we were able to develop frameworks around the marketplace use cases that could be more easily leveraged.
Yeah, okay. And at what point, like sort of how long into the journey did you realize you had product market fit?
When we started making money. And so when people are paying a monthly fee for the hosting environment, and you're keeping the servers up and you're delivering a great support, that's when we knew we were onto something. And especially as more and more inquiries came, we didn't do any paid advertising for a lot of, it's all been organic. And even now it's all organic inbound leads. So we know that the content we've put out and also the reputation that we've started to build is resonating, and having revenues is a great validation.
Yeah, right. So lots of time spent on building content for an SEO point of view to generate those leads?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. And so you've come from a tech background, I'm guessing, and sort of how did you sort of learn that sort of business acumen along the way? And so did you have some really good mentors?
I have had some very good mentors. On the technical journey, my mentor, and if she's listening, hi, Leanne Martin, when I was 17, and because I dropped out of school when I was 16, and after dropping out of school, I was left home, left school, went off to do my own thing. And I ended up pushing trolleys at Safeway, became a touch checker as well. I was a really good checkout chick at Safeway back in the day. Try doing that out at Lilydale, on the Lilydale line, and copying it. At lunchtime, I'd go to the local computer store, and that was run by Leanne Martin and Rosemary Martin. And she was an ex-Hewlett-Packard engineer, and I would go in my lunchtimes, open up an XT, push the little buttons on the side. There's an 8088 processor in there, and there's, what's that? That's RAM. What's that? That's the bus. What's that? That's a hard drive. Hard drive? Wow, that's huge. 5.25-inch floppy drives. Learned all of that stuff simply during my lunch breaks, and I ended up getting offered a job with her. And then from there, incredible mentor. That's my technical mentoring. Business acumen kicked off with the new enterprise incentive scheme. I don't know if you've heard of NEIS, NEIS. Is it still going in Australia?
I haven't heard of it, no.
Might have a new name.
New enterprise incentive scheme. Back in the day. Again, I was 18 at this stage, applied, went through, and they taught me you should have a business plan. And this is how you do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What's all this stuff? It's not stuff that I learned at school, but they definitely taught me and got me on track. And then from there, I started my own business at 18, sold that at 25, and it was just the school of hard knocks.
Yeah, so lots of learnings as and when things didn't go to plan.
Yep.
Adam, what have been some of those unexpected surprises along the way? Come on, share some of the gory details with us.
All right, unexpected surprises. Well, There's some positive ones, and the positive ones are the ones I'll focus on first, and then I'll throw a couple of real. Any entrepreneur needs to think about mental health, but the positive ones are just meeting people and building incredibly long-term loyal friendships. Bardia and myself are like brothers. You go through the foxhole together. They say never do business with friends or family. But you meet a business person and then you gel, and then you can go from that to being family. So that's been an incredibly rich and rewarding thing for me, is the people I've met and the lessons I've learnt and the support. One of the darker aspects of building a business, and especially for those who are single founder business owners, it's tough. It's a tough slog. The mental grind. One of the negatives, my wife at the time committed suicide. That's a big, big, big hit. And it's a shock, right? It's a hard one to take. That completely blows you over sideways. And I have to take some of the, people make choices, but it's the environment and the mental health or lack thereof that can push people over the edge. I don't know how much of my disconnectedness contributed to that, but I will take it, feel guilty about that for a long, long time. I think that's a deep emotional pain that is not talked about in entrepreneurial circles. There's a lot of mental health problems that go on in Silicon Valley. There's heaps. People don't talk about it. So I would encourage people to keep those connections, the strong connections with friends and family that matter. And when you're feeling down and almost out, talk to mates, reach out to somebody who might, be that person in the foxhole for you that can help you.
Hey, listeners. Adam was super open with sharing such a deep personal experience, which we honestly weren't expecting. We continue to have a further chat here offline, but we've decided to cut that from the live version. Mental health is super important as a founder. So make sure as you're building your company, you build a strong support network. We really appreciate how open Adam was in speaking so openly about this. So back to the episode.
So there's a large movement to remote work. You spoke a lot about people moving away from the Valley. What's your view of remote work? And what advice would you have for other founders thinking about it?
Well, for me, I love it. It's a big part of our business, our team, and part of the success of our team is based on our ability to build an incredible team, and that team being remote workers. So we have our team in Poland, in Romania, in Hungary, our team in the US, and all of them collaborate. We have regular video chat like we're doing now on Zoom, and it's fantastic. But I have to say, the physical connection of being able to meet face-to-face and have a meal and have a chat and build the team is absolutely critical as well. So as much as I love remote working, I also love having teams that are right shoulder to shoulder, because you can whiteboard and get stuff done really quickly, but you can make remote working work.
Yeah, and I think being able to have that sort of personal connection where you do meet with them, whether it's every few months, and actually having that face-to-face is so valuable, and you end up getting so much done during that time period, and then you go back and work remote, and then that continues to work even better. Yeah.
Yep. And with video like this now, we're checking in on a daily basis.
I was going to ask, what are your favorite tools for remote working, other than the obvious ones?
Yeah, so Zoom, we were a big user of Zoom even before it was called Zoom. I think they changed their name back in the day. We now have our own white labeled version that we've built inside PlatformOS for doing video. And we use the Twilio API, video API for that. And it's awesome. But Zoom is great. Slack, it's a love-hate relationship with Slack. Slack's going to replace your inbox. Yeah, with 10,000 more inboxes. So I think for small teams, Slack is great. As we've opened up our Slack channel to be more public, the demands are coming through. I think we're going to move off and use actually our own product for that community management. But between Zoom and Slack, that's what we've found to work exceptionally well. Obviously, the engineers are using GitHub, and so from that perspective, having GitHub projects, we use ClickUp and Figma as well. So ClickUp being an incredibly awesome new project management tool. Figma being an amazing front-end design, templating tool. That's the biggest ones that we've, and PlatformOS, of course, it's been probably the best tool that we've been
Absolutely.
So what's the best piece of advice that you've received along the journey so far, Adam?
The one that resonates the most was I was flying between Perth and Adelaide back when Australia had won the Ashes. Was it 2006? Back then. And I was sitting next to Merv Hughes on the plane. I'm name dropping. This is going to be a big name drop thing.
So you're flying business class then?
I was business class, but back in the day, it was like I got upgraded from points. And speaking of, I was flying business class because I was staying in backpacker hostels every time I was doing a roadshow because we couldn't afford a hotel for me. But I got upgraded to business class. Merv's there. This guy next to me kept looking over at Merv. Turns out that was Ian Botham. So I'm sitting next to Ian Botham. I introduced myself. I didn't know it was him. And he said, yeah, I'm Ian Botham. I said, oh, yeah. Now, Ian, what's some advice you could give a guy who's building a business? And he said, laser focus. And I remembered that because everybody keeps saying the same thing, laser focus. Don't have 5 businesses that you're trying to run. Pick one, focus on it, and do your best at that. Because if you're distracted by too many things, you'll just be average at everything. And being laser focused to be the best at what you want to do. That's not to say that you're going to not do something else later, but right now, where is your focus? Laser focus.
That's great advice. So what's next for PlatformOS? What's your big vision for your business in the next 5 years?
Oh, that's a good one because we are revamping our brand. We did an upside down business building exercise with PlatformOS. We built the tech first, then documentation. Our documentation won an award from the UK Technical Writers Organisation just last year. And our marketing, we have not really done. Our website is only just being updated after 4 years. So we're about to go mainstream in that we're taking off the covers. We're going to be doing campaigns and reaching out to digital marketing agencies, internet consultants, developers. We already have a core group of developers around the world that are building on our platform. They're building SaaS products, enterprise software, all sorts of things. So now, as of Q2 this year, we're really ramping up our development, our marketing to developers. And as a multi-cloud solution, we expect that our growth is really going to ramp up to the point where maybe IPO could be on the cards for us. We'll see in 2 years, but our trajectory could give us that. And if we don't, it doesn't matter. But we just want to build a massive ecosystem of channel partners. Yeah, that's awesome. The goal.
Awesome. And thinking about sort of IPO, what do you think are the key things that you need to think about to be able to get to that stage? Is it sort of seeing that sort of large level amounts of growth, or what are you sort of thinking about?
Yeah, it's good. It's really low cost of goods, good margins, and over 100,000 annual recurring revenue. So it's 100,000, 100 million is what I meant to say. So you want 100 million ARR, and you want to make sure there's some good margin in your cost of goods. So as a product that's reliant on channel partners without needing a lot of overhead on each of the sales that we do, that's something very achievable for us.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, Adam. I really appreciate all the time and all the things that you've shared and been so open and honest in sharing that. I'm sure so many founders are going to value listening to this episode. So thanks so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve and Michael. And anybody who wants to reach out on LinkedIn and connect, feel free. Happy to chat.
Excellent. Well,
thanks, Adam.
Thanks. And that's all for Founders on Air. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Founders on Air with Steve Orenstein and Mike Rosenbaum, a podcast designed for founders by founders to help you scale your business. For show notes and to ask questions for future episodes, go to foundersonair.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.